What's going on, everybody? My name is Ben, and welcome back to the bench for a brand new episode here on Ben Builds Military Mondays. We are back at it with a new build, and I'm very excited to go ahead and show you guys what we're going to be working on over the next couple of weeks. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, this is actually a very special deal because this was sent to me by a subscriber who offered it to me, and I'm honestly floored that this was something that he sent over. So I just want to say, first off, a big shout out and thank you to Steven. Thank you very much, my man. Let's get into it though. This is the 1/48 scale P-39 Airacobra. This is the Eduard version, the Airacobra over New Guinea, limited edition 1/48 scale. As you can see, dual combo means we have two P-39s in this box, unbuilt and ready for us to do whatever we want to do with them, which is really, really cool. Now, this is actually an incomplete kit. We are missing a few things, but not a problem. This can still build up into a great looking P-39, and we have most of our parts. So it's not like we're missing an entire half of the fuselage. If we look on the side here, we can see that we have some really awesome looking color schemes. We've got an all black P-39. We've got a lot of early D versions. We've got a couple of N versions and one or two Q versions. So that's very cool. I've never actually built anything past the P400. So this is going to be, I think, a really fun kind of foray into the P39, the middle and later production runs. So let's go ahead and get into it and check out some of the parts and pieces. I won't spend too long on this because you've probably seen these before. I actually built a P400 not too long ago, so it's pretty much the same type of build. But let's go ahead and get into it here, and the instructions are beautiful, as you can expect from Eduard. These are decals, and as you can see, we are missing the upper corners of our decal sheet, which means, well, we can't build one particular version. But I don't think that really matters because we have some great looking stencils and our different nose arts. So I'm actually happy to say that we can still build a ton of different options. And speaking of options, we can build either a D, an N, or a Q version of the P39. And as you can see here, we do have different instrument panels that you can build. That's nice to know. There are differences, very subtle differences between the different makes. So you got to be careful when building this to make sure you have the right instrument panel for the right version. So something to be aware of. Overall, though, Eduard instruction manuals always have a ton of detail, and I've never really found them to be that lacking. However, though, we do have photo etch, so you best read up and make sure to know what you're doing before you get into it, because photo etch can be a little bit of some trouble. Now, as you can see here, though, we are given options. We have drop tanks, we have bombs, and then for the later Q versions, we have our wing-mounted 50 caliber machine guns. So again, we've got some options. Got to do a little bit of reference research before we get into it. Now, I did build a P400 not too long ago, and this is going to share a lot of similarities between that version and this version here. I will say that I'm glad I built that P400 before this because I learned a couple of valuable lessons, such as don't use super glue to glue on photo etch on clear parts. I already kind of knew that, but I just completely spaced on it. But this kit, hopefully, will get a little redemption here. Moving on to the different color schemes, you notice a lot of these will have removed landing gear bay wheel covers, and that's because the mud in New Guinea was so bad it would bog down on the landing gears, so they pulled off the outer doors. But we've got an all black version here. We've got some different panels picked out by Olive Drab, some very interesting looking designs and nose art. Now, a good portion of these are P39Ds, and I kind of wanted to stay away from building the P39D version because I already built the P400, and there's quite a bit of similarity between the two. So what I'm going to try to do instead is go for an N version or a Q version. I think that would be a good move to make. And speaking of the Q version, to go ahead and pull out our decals here, we can match them up with what we have and what we're missing. We can see right here, we have this nose art, but over here on the opposite page, that's where we start seeing we're missing some parts. So this particular Q version, we cannot build. We don't have the decals. But again, not a big deal because I've got a plan that might go ahead and be just as cool. But again, you can check out the different color schemes, a very interesting looking nose art, some really nice looking stenciling. Continuing on here, we have a P39N, which is of course missing our wheel bay covers as usual for a lot of these aircraft, and a P39Q. And this is the one I would like to build when I go ahead and get into this whole kit. This has the white tail, which is interesting. I've never done anything like that. It's got some cool graphics there on the drop tank. If you look down at the wheel bay covers, we've got some interesting looking designs on those. And I've never seen that before on a P39, so that's kind of cool. That's why I'm leaning towards that particular version. But otherwise though, this is a great looking instruction manual, so I think it's going to be perfectly adequate to build up some really awesome looking Airacobras. Now, getting into the parts and pieces, you'll notice, of course, this is a dual combo kit, so we will have double the parts and pieces for two P39. So two sets of wings, two fuselages. Everything is grouped up together. So we have one P39 here and we have one P39 opened. in the bottom of the box. That's the one we'll be focusing on. Parts themselves are very nicely detailed. It is the older plastic for Eduard, so it's got that kind of light tannish brown, which is something you see in the older kits. However, though, the parts and detail here are still crisp, still clean, and I don't think there'll be much of an issue. You can zoom in here and just look on the backside of this landing gear cover. Just absolutely beautiful detail. At the bottom of the wheelbase as well, we've got structural detailing in there. Got the cockpit floor. Could use a little bit of detail, but that's what the photo etch is for. And of course, like the rear bulkhead, we might have to drill out, but a very nicely detailed part. We have multiple exhausts and of course our fuselage, which you can see the tiny recessed panel lines, a little bit of subtle riveting detail, and just an overall really nice looking aircraft. And depending on the version you make, we have different inserts for the front guns. Now in terms of extras, we are given a nose weight that is molded to fit the front of the aircraft. Now we only have one of those. We are missing the second one, but that's no big deal. These are colored photo etch, as you can see here. We have the front instrument panels, we've got seat belts, we've got all the different dials and levers. So that's really cool. On the back side of that, we have our unpainted photo etch, door panels, different boxes, and all sorts of things. So it's kind of nice to have that. I don't know how much I'll use of them, but they look pretty good. Now, even though I have a full set of PE parts, I wanted to go ahead and try something new. So I've replaced one of the PE sets with this Quinta Studios 3D decal set for P-39N. I've never actually used them, but Joe raves about them. So I thought, let's give it a shot. Let's try them out. We can go ahead and zoom in for you real quick here, and you can see these have fantastic 3D details. Everything has a bit of relief to it, so that's really nice. It gives a beautiful 3D effect. We have seat belts, we have switches, dials, we have levers, of course our front console, instrument panels, all that good stuff. And compared to the actual photo etch, coloring looks decent, but you can tell right off the bat the 3D details here, I think definitely kind of stand out a little bit more than just a flat photo etch. So I like the idea of the 3D decals. Now, as I mentioned, I am missing one set of decals. So I went through my spares box, and luckily I have this old Aeromasters sheet of Stalin Cobras Part 1. I bought these in the early 2000s when I was working on a monogram P-39. As you can see, I still have the old decal sheet right here from the early monogram kit. They look in good condition, a bit yellowed, but anyway, I wanted to go ahead and replace those and build something a little bit more accurate. And I don't know if I really did that, but I gave it my best shot, and this is my first time ever using aftermarket decals. And I came up with this right here, the monogram P-39 off of this new decal sheet. And I gotta tell you, these decals were really, really nice, and I've got 4 other versions, and they are all P-39Ns. So I have a lot to choose from. I can do any one of these, and I think it'd be really fun to supplement one of these schemes for our missing American scheme. And as you can see, I've got everything still here. I've got all our stencils. I really like this white 100 right here, and this little snake motif on this one is kind of cool too. I don't know if it's accurate, but it does look kind of neat. Even though we're missing one American set of decals, we've got a ton of other Russian aircraft that we can use too, and even the old monogram set as well. Though I don't think I'll be using them, but it's kind of nice to look back and see the difference between decals back in the 80s, 90s, versus now, and there's a lot of carrier film on these old decals, I can tell you that. But Aeromasters Stalin's Cobras Part 1, this gives us options, which is absolutely fantastic. So that's something to consider. But let me know what you think. I'm going to put these away for now, and that's going to be kind of in the back of my mind. Now, of course, we've got to talk references, guys, and we have one book. This is our Detail and Scale P-39 Airacobra. I absolutely love this series of books. You can see line drawings, pictures, detailed write-ups of different parts and pieces. In fact, what we have here is a P-39 undergoing restoration. So that would be really, really helpful if we go ahead and build one of the Russian ones, because that gives us a look at an actual P-39N. Great book, highly recommended. But that is it, guys. Thank you so much for joining me here. This is what we're going to be working on for the next couple of weeks. I don't know if I'm going to start immediately next week or if I got to give it a little bit of time to go ahead and let the schedule kind of mellow out, collect some paint, get myself some references. I am super excited to get going on this. We are missing some decals, but not to worry. We've got the Russian decals. We also have a great assortment of other schemes that I would love to go ahead and paint. And like I said, I'm really leaning towards doing the middle production runs, so the P-39N and the P-39Q. In fact, the P-39Q would be probably this marking set right here with that cool shark mouth on the drop tank. It'd be kind of interesting to do. And of course, as you remember, I did build a P400 a few years back, and that was a really, really fun model. So I have a feeling that anything that I had on that one versus this one should be pretty similar. So I might have to go back and watch my video series again, remember what I did and how I built it. Let me go ahead and close out the video by again saying thank you and heartfelt appreciation to Steven for going ahead and sending this model kit over to me. I absolutely love the P-39 and this is a great kit. I am honestly so honored. I'm going to do the best job I can to build these up into some really nice looking P-39s, and hopefully you come along for the ride and you enjoy the final products. So let's go ahead and call it quits for today. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Until our next episode, you know the drill. Go out there, get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something cool. Make sure to come on back on our next episode where we'll crack into the P-39. We'll figure out what paint to use, we'll get it going, and see what we can do. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon.